Welcome back to the Weaving Magick podcast. I'm your host, Tara Webb.
And I'm your host, Alyssa Lilly.
And we're kind of back to where we all began, essentially.
A full circle, a full tarot
year.
deck.
Yes, a full year. That's not to say, like, we're in Colorado recording. We're in Georgia in the woods because we thought it'd be beautiful to just to come be outside and connect with the nature as we reflect on what's happened over this year. The highs, the lows, the nitty gritty, I don't know, all of it.
All of it.
But the first thing I would say is that I'm really proud of us for sticking to it and getting every episode out on time.
I don't think we've missed a week.
No,
We haven't missed a single week.
And for all of you who have been here with us the entire time supporting us, thank you. Thank you so much. It just means the world. Like, we look at how many downloads we have and that kind of stuff, and we see you from across the world.
Across the freaking world.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that podcasting is such a beautiful place where we can sit and connect, and it's almost like time travel, because who knows when you're listening to this episode versus when we're recording, but we're still having this beautiful, magical, energetic exchange and real deep connection without realizing it.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I would say our most popular episodes to date are our Weaving Magick. Like, I think it's the third one or the first one, talking about the Weaving Magick throughout the day, our very early on ones. And then the ones that you just seem to love is the one with Leslie, about tapping into your inner cycle, the womb wisdom, the bleeding, like all of it. Yes, we would love to have Leslie on again this season, as we, go deeper into what it means to be a witch, deeper into what it means to have magic into your life, and not being apologetic towards that, right? Like, really owning that. So that is definitely, I would say, if not the second, probably the top episode with Leslie, for sure.
It's funny because even though we're very open and honest and really vulnerable on the podcast, I just see us next year going so much deeper. And I love that in a way this podcast has been holding us accountable to our magic and, walking the walk, right? And that's what keeps our inspiration
We were talking
going
today because in our Patreon community, shout out to our Patreon community and how that's going to be shifting and growing even more so. Every Sunday, we do a card pull. And we've only missed one based on just family stuff happening, which I think is still pretty amazing. And this week, when we're doing the card pull, it always calls us out. That's just kind of how the cards are, the universe is.
Yep, very blunt.
Yes. And it's beautiful because sometimes the only times we do our card pulls now are for the community. And so that was a nice reminder of, really stepping more into our own power, our own witchiness, because we love doing that for our community, but we should also be doing it more also for ourselves. Definitely. And I think that, as Alyssa said, this reminds us to do and be more magical, but also we can still step it up for ourselves, which is what we're doing.
And get to take you on the journey with us.
Yes. We have also hired someone who's really going to help us expand how we are presenting the podcast, like the videos of it, that kind of stuff, so that we can step into a more creative role too, which is really fun.
Focus more on what we want to create, how we want to connect with you. We have so many big ideas for our community, and we've had these big ideas for a while, but because we've been so busy editing the podcast, getting the videos together, getting things posted, and making sure we don't miss a week, we haven't had a chance to really dive into the creation and give you the attention that we truly wanted.
Yes.
And I think this was part of the growing pains. And now that we have a team member to help us manage all of the maintenance of upkeeping a podcast, it just frees up so much of our creative flow and energy, and it's going to be so beautiful. And we love her.
Yes, we do. She's amazing. So, as we all tend to do on, January 1st, we tend to look back at where we've been and step into, kind of where we want to go with that. And so I would like to kind of look back at our episodes, all 55 of them, since we had the first 3 bursts.
Wow. 55 episodes.
55.
Let's just pause and celebrate that for a second. 55 episodes.
We have found 55 things to talk about.
Who knew?
Alyssa, what would you say was your favorite episode to record?
My favorite episode to record? Honestly, the trust and intimacy.
Oh, yeah.
That was very personal, and it was a lot of fun.
Especially being in person, recording that one. It was definitely...
Other Zoom recordings and the way that we connect on the podcast is beautiful, but being in each other's energy in person is just so much different. I'm glad we got so much recording done together.
Yes. I think it's also fun, our most recent with the Frozen 2.
Oh, yes. Talking about the magic of Frozen.
And how upsetting it was and, like, crying about it.
How triggering.
Emotional damage. Yeah. That was a really fun one. And who would you say has been not our favorite interview, but I think
let's not play favorites.
No, I would say the one that I think made us more introspective.
Ooh, that's a tough one because I feel like we've had a lot of really great ones.
I think the one with Sky for me.
Okay.
Has been more introspective, just maybe because with the writing and like really looking at how someone else as a writer does that and really calls forth her own magic with it. It reminded me to step in daily to my craft and to honoring myself with that. So I had a lot going deeper with Skies, I think, for sure.
I'm having a hard time choosing one. I really think that I've enjoyed all of them, but introspective-wise, reflecting on my relationship with plants. And Raquel's been on the podcast twice. And both times, it has just opened my eyes to how I can have more intimacy, not in a weird way, but intimacy with plants and, communicating with them. And we even talked about the chakras.
Yes.
And Raquel didn't have an answer when we asked, but do plants have chakras? And I think she emailed us afterwards.
She did. Her answer was saying that the plants did say they have chakras and that
they're very different.
Yeah, it just varies where one individual leaf is the sacral, I think is what she said, but all of their leaves as a whole equal their crown.
It's fascinating. And I love just that reminder to connect to nature is really important to me. I would say another one that really touched me deeply was Sarah Collins with the inner child work. I love chatting with her. I'm sure you guys could feel that in the episode too. Just our inner children light up when we get in a conversation together, and I love how she reminds me to play. And
I see the one with Nicolette was just full of laughter.
Oh my goodness, that was a great one. And I love the way that she connects with characters when she's writing her books. It's so fascinating.
The one with Maggie really called us to look at our own traumas and how to honor them and how to step into loving ourselves even more and honoring the shift from being not a parent to a parent, essentially, to parenthood, and like how we begin to shift the magic that we create and like teaching that to our kids and that kind of stuff. Because, as Maggie said, she used to have these hour to hour long cacao sessions, and that's drastically shifted now as, she has 4 kids.
Yep.
So,
but also going from none to 4 is a lot.
Yes, it is. It is as well. Yes.
That's a big transition. Man, I knew we were reflecting, but I just, for some reason, was not mentally prepared. We've had so many great conversations and reflections and growth. I will say, I don't remember what episode it was where cloud gazing, it was a very deep kind of traumatic, not traumatic.
I think that was the one that was the trauma with colors.
Oh, yes.
Because we wanted a very relaxing challenge afterwards.
But ever since then, I catch myself looking at the clouds all the time and just remembering to pause and absorb their beauty. And when I'm driving, of course, focusing on the road, but I take a moment and I see shapes and designs, and I just wonder in what ways is the universe communicating to us, and we don't even realize it because the clouds, we just take them for granted.
And I think that's something that's very special about our podcast that I enjoy is that challenge. Something that helps you take it home, kind of remember. I mean, we ourselves haven't been great every single week stepping into the challenge, but it's a nice reminder for whenever we do. And I think that's what it's meant for, is not perfection. Is sometimes those challenges...
That's the theme of our whole podcast. We're not fucking perfect.
Sometimes those challenges will be like, I don't have the time this week. I don't feel like it fits this week, right? Or whatever it is, right? And sometimes it's like, yes, that was exactly what I needed right now. I can go do that, you know? How would you say that magic has shifted throughout your day? How would you say that you have begun to, from like when we first started this, you know, how do you weave magic in your daily life to now? How do you weave magic as you go along your day?
Well, I definitely think I love that these little pine needles are falling. I got distracted from the trees as we're recording. I would say the biggest shift that I've noticed is not feeling guilty. I know it's probably a strange one, but I used to feel really guilty for not spending the time to be really intentional with my magic. But with having kids, I've been more focused on presence and the way that I play with my kids, and I make that my magic versus feeling like it needs to be this ritualistic thing, which I feel like I had a concept of when we started this podcast, because that's the whole reason we started this podcast, was on, you know, you can weave magic throughout your day, but truly embodying it has been such a phenomenal experience. I don't know, when I take time to play with my kids, I feel like the to-do list isn't running as much in my head, and I'm totally focused on letting my inner child play, and I think that is one of the most magical things in the world. What about you?
I was just hearing your words again. I think it's kind of the same. I haven't been as intentional as we just said with like doing the ritualistic magic, which is okay, but also miss that.
I do.
And
crave
so
it.
I feel like the magic throughout my day is the tea.
Oh yes, I loved staying with Tara. She made us like 3 or 4 cups of tea a day.
Yes.
And we found a really great peppermint tea that is not even available. We found it at a store. It's Rasa, amazing, highly recommend.
Yes.
Their other teas are good too that are available, but the peppermint, I'm hoping that they release it.
Yeah, I think we just really needed something to shake it up a bit. The peppermint was really, you know, at that moment what we needed. So the teas really bring me presence and calm throughout my day, as well as making them for my boys.
Oh, and
because I make Dominic and now Olive, well, except for Ori, the other 2.
Ori drinks your tea.
He does drink my tea, but I don't make him his own yet. But I make them like a dandelion coffee, because coffee is good for those with ADHD to kind of help the mind a bit more focused and stuff. But I don't want to get him hooked on coffee. I don't want to get him quite into that caffeine,
so
right?
What is dandelion coffee? Let's talk about that for the magic weaver who may not know.
Dandelion is, you know, the weed that's growing all around us, right? That we've been told is just really bad and just needs to be pulled up. When in reality, dandelion actually really helps your body release a lot of the toxins. It's great. Like whenever you see it, whenever nature is growing something is when it's something that you need to have at that time, right? So you see dandelion growing a lot in the summer, spring, fall time. And you can eat every part of the dandelion. So for example, you can actually get dandelion greens in the store. If you see them, I recommend you grabbing them, but also you want to be sure it's like not in a commercial area where there are pesticides and things that are just gross being sprayed, because that's just going to stick with you and actually be much worse for you. But dandelion is like one of those deep greens that just like when your body eats something, the green parts of food like kale, it feels like it's eating poison because it's so bitter. Because a lot of the green stuff that we're not supposed to eat does taste like that. And so it will start to release within your body liquids to help release everything out. And so that helps cleanse your body a lot. Dandelion is also very good for calming. And
it's their root that's used for coffee.
Yes.
Right? No caffeine though.
No caffeine. And that's a big part, is that I want to help my boys, because caffeine does help some, but it's easily addictive. And it actually dries your body out more. So like you're the kind of person that drinks coffee and caffeine because you have to go to the bathroom. In reality, it's drying your body out more so that you're actually releasing so much, but it's like not the way it should be releasing. It's like an abrupt versus, you know, relaxed. And I don't want them to kind of get stuck on coffee. So the dandelion root really helps with the focusing of their mind and calming. Also the warmth, warm drinks are just very relaxing. So that's the magic of making those for my boys. And I enjoy making, so part of my love that I give is making drinks for people, especially Justin. Like, if I am tapped out, I can't give him my love through making him coffee, because I feel like I put a part of myself into that drink. I sometimes make my own mindlessly. I'll do quotes, but that's only because it really isn't mindless as well. Because I'm still doing it relatively, like my mindless is still intentional.
So it's more habitual.
Yes, more habitual, but there's still a piece of me in there. Which
I can taste it.
Which is probably why when it spills, it's so sad.
Oh, yeah. It's very triggering.
Because a piece of you is being spilled. A piece of you that you really put in and you put love into, that you have given to somebody, given to yourself, right? Or when a fly gets in it.
I'm so sad.
It is. So I definitely enjoy making that for my husband. It's a very magical way of loving on him. My boys. I'd also say those moments when I get to do the homeschooling witchy stuff with them.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, like when we did candles. That was great. I didn't get a chance to really teach them because I was learning how to do it, so I couldn't learn and teach. But now that I have the concept of how much wax to put in, I can go through and talk about the split of this much wax with this and what you're doing and that kind of thing. Dominic, him being the third one to try it, since the other two were a bit more learning with me. Dominic sang as he was stirring his wax and put his love and intention into it.
It was the cutest thing ever, and it was from the Frozen movie.
Yes. Plus his own little magic mixed in with that. So those kinds of things, when we're painting together and I'm just seeing what they create. Yeah, the homeschooling, even though I haven't been as intentional with it, we've been taking a break, but I still do stuff around the house. I'm excited within the next few weeks to actually dive in deeper and do unschooling and really focus on what brings them joy around it and teaching them. I mean, there's this show, if you have kids who are interested or have actually a difficulty with math, Number Blocks on Netflix works great, because my boys, Dominic, who's 9, technically he could be in 3rd grade. No, I think it's 4th grade, but he's in 3rd. Something like that. Because we kind of kept him back a little bit, and I have not talked to him about multiplication because he took a little bit to kind of understand addition and subtraction, and so I just kind of let it be there. Thomas, he has no formal training with math facts at all. Well, he may have some, but barely any. And Elias, who's 5, has even less. He's not even going to start school until he's 7. He'll be doing small things. Or he's 4. He's turning 5 in December. But he's 5 by the time the episode comes out, technically.
Yeah.
Because I forget. But he won't be starting school until 6.5, 7, because that's just the age, right, for us. And that's actually good for him mentally. All of that to say is that the other day, I was talking with Dominic, and I was like, hey, Dom, what's 2 times 3? And he's like, 6. And he knows his multiplication tables really quickly.
Yeah.
Not all of them.
But he still, if you give him a moment, can figure it out. And
or he gets
amazing.
close. He's still using his brain to kind of be I think it's this, right? Because of the way that Number Blocks has taught them to group it together. So check out Number Blocks, because it really helps teach. I don't know, there's something about the way it teaches them about primes and making them into squares and that kind of stuff. So those are the fun things. Seeing them grow, seeing Ori grow, and the way that he
tries to blow out a fire.
Yeah.
That was cute.
And the way he lets the dogs outside. And those are my magic throughout the day of just appreciating the small moments.
Which is funny, because I don't know that I anticipated that there could be more appreciation and presence there until we started doing this podcast.
Yeah. That's very true.
Because I felt like I was being present, and I really wasn't. Not to my fullest potential. I had some growth to do.
But also Alyssa was able to step away from a full-time job.
Yes.
So there
wasn't been a lot of change in my life this year.
There wasn't a lot of presence in the sense because you had to focus on other things. Now you're able to be more present because you have that space.
And I can work on my own schedule.
And so I think for those who maybe feel like they aren't able to honor that within themselves, maybe feel bad that they don't have the space to, it will come.
It's okay to not have the space. Kids, as long as they know that they're loved, that's all that matters. And when you do have a moment with them, just be present for that one moment.
Yep.
Even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long.
Like 5 minutes a day, putting your phone down and just really hearing them.
Mm-hmm.
And reading them a book. Whatever it is, just 5 minutes will mean the world.
And that is what makes their day. They don't remember.
They don't need the entire day.
Mm-mm.
Our brains can't understand the entire day. Like, it's just kind of stuck in the background. That's kind of a reminder that you are doing your best. And to keep doing your best, for sure.
What has surprised you most about podcasting?
I would say triggers. I'm a very open person, so like saying things on here doesn't bother me as much.
Mm-hmm.
But we very much talk about the noise and being honest and like letting our kids be loud and like that kind of thing. And I want silence. And so I have to remember, because I'm not going to stop them. I'm not going to, especially when I'm telling on the podcast, we do this. It calls me forward to actually honoring that. I do ask them to be a little bit quieter sometimes because they're like just crazy loud. They're really exercising their throat chakra. But yeah, it's definitely just reminded me to respect their childhood, to respect that they need noise in their life. They need that. And I can't handle that sometimes because of my own trauma, not because of them, right? That's me versus them. So I would say that kind of triggering maybe. And also I felt like I had tons of things to talk about, and sometimes I'm like, what do I even say?
Yeah, I feel that deeply. Because
we always want to bring content that we feel like is here for you. It's about you, right?
Well, it's about all of us.
It is.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's part of the trigger, right? That what we say isn't interesting. We have to make it interesting. We have to make it feel like
we have to have some sort of angle. Or we need to, I think the biggest thing that we had to work through is we're not here to teach you.
Yes, correct.
And we've been so ingrained with workshops, and a lot of what we do has been teaching or coaching. And it's like, this is not coaching. As much as we love to share our wisdom with you, absolutely. But this isn't like, I don't need to come to a podcast episode with the intention to have an outline and to teach you bullet points.
Yes. Which also makes it difficult for us because we get off on tangents a lot of the time.
Tangents.
But I mean, I hope that makes it more conversational, that you realize that we are being real and that you can follow along with us without getting whiplash.
I mean, I pause you a lot. What does this mean? In case our magic weaver doesn't know this, what is that?
We actually just talked about that, how it is very important because after recording the episodes about trust, Alyssa was, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? Because my brain goes so fast that I would go and like say something.
I follow you for the most part, but I know sometimes I'm like, we need to rewind.
And even if Alyssa does follow me, sometimes what I'm meaning, Alyssa may not grasp because Alyssa's not me.
No, I cannot read your mind.
And so it's definitely knowing that like what I'm saying is out of love, and I just have to be myself. Like, that's all we have to do. And there's not like a expectation, a requirement of what comes out of like, oh, what wisdom can I gain from them today? It's kind of like, hey, come join us for a conversation. That's kind of like what I feel that we want to bring, is just come join us for a conversation. What about you? What do you think has kind of been the most surprising for you? The most, I don't know, growth-inducing?
Well, I agree with you very much on the accepting that life is going to happen while you're podcasting. Everything doesn't just stop. Which I feel like is common sense, but at the same time, you do everything you can to plan and prepare.
Yeah.
I mean, we've even scheduled out and had a whole plan on how we were going to stay ahead. And here at the end of the year, we've been pretty much week by week, which is not something we like. We like to be ahead of things in case things happen or, things get crazy. But just, I think the biggest lesson has been going with the flow.
And also on the side note of that, we quickly learned that it's almost, while we want to be ahead, we also don't want to be as ahead as we were.
Yes, that's been a big lesson because we have things that come up that are more relevant in the moment than 3 months from now.
And also, like, we'll record something and be like, what was the challenge?
What were you supposed to be doing?
Oh, yeah, and we disconnect from that conversation. So it's very difficult for us to feel as excited about that podcast coming out because we're not in the moment as much with it anymore.
And I've seen a huge decline in the way that we show up on Instagram and things too for you, because we're so busy trying to edit, get episodes out and do all of this and make graphics. And then we forget what the episode challenge is. Even though we have the challenge, we're just not as connected with it. And then we don't want to post about it because we're not feeling as connected with it.
Yes.
So we're really strategizing for this year to come to walk the walk and the challenges and be present with you through it.
Definitely.
Hence why we've expanded our team.
Yes, definitely.
Which is exciting.
Go ahead.
You go.
I'll just bring up the challenge.
Oh, are we going to challenge? Okay, what's the challenge?
I was thinking the challenge being of just reflecting back on your own year.
Yeah.
And seeing your own growth, and not so much of like what I didn't do, what can I do better? That's where we always go. Right? For this one, it is to... what am I really proud of myself for? You know, what did I honor myself for? Where did I really step into my boundaries, into respecting myself? What was it this past year that really, where I showed up for myself?
Ooh, that's a good challenge. I love that.
Thank you for being on a year of podcasting with us.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Weaving Magick podcast.
This concludes another episode of our Weaving Magick podcast.
We release one episode a week, so be sure to subscribe to catch the latest episode as soon as it releases. You can find us on Instagram at Weaving Magick Podcast. That's Weaving Magick, Magick Podcast.
We would also love it if you could leave us a review. If you do, make sure to email us your review so we can send you a thank you gift. Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to find a way to weave magic into your daily life.